Good evening, everyone, and a warm welcome to all our audience for joining us today. This webinar is specially designed to guide young chartered accountants as they prepare to enter the professional world. And tonight, we have something truly special for you. Before we begin, a quick note about our initiative, the Jammu CA Student Connect Group. This is a student driven movement built on one belief. No CA student from Jammu should ever feel disconnected or alone in their journey. We created this platform to unite learners, share opportunities, bring mentors closer, and build a community where guidance is accessible and growth becomes a shared mission. Today's session is one more step in that direction. And now, audience, get ready because the powerhouses of finance world are here. We are honored to host three extraordinary speakers, each with a distinct expertise that shapes the finance landscape in their own way. Our first guest, CA Asif Masani, a strategist who blends numbers with business insights. With over 10 years of global FP&A experience across Citibank, Pfizer, Coursera, and EY, he has worked at the intersection of data, decision making, and leadership. He is also the author of widely acclaimed book all about FP&A and the founder of FP&A Professionals Institute. His ability to simplify complex financial stories and guide professionals makes him one of the most respected voices in modern corporate finance. Our second guest, CA Simran Kaur, a strong force in audit, financial reporting, and business finance. With 8 plus years of experience at firms like PwC, BDO, and Barclays, she has handled UK FCA and CAS audits, ITGC reviews, and AICPA assignments. Her expertise lies in financial data analysis, controls testing, and interpreting the impact of economic and regulatory changes. She brings a powerful mix of technical depth, discipline, and analytical clarity. Our third guest, CA Kshitij Goel. And yes, as an exceptional bonus, he is also a CFA charter holder. He is a specialist in valuation and transaction advisory. As a director and board member at TRC Corporate Consulting, he brings 12 plus years of experience, having led 500 plus valuations and 90 plus due diligence engagement across sectors like IT, ITES, FMCG, pharma, infrastructure, and many more. His work spans across M&A restructuring, investment banking consultancy, regulatory compliance, PPA, and financial modeling. He also contributes to valuation research, investor discussions, and startup forums, shaping how businesses understand value and make strategic decisions. Together, they bring the perfect blend of strategy, audit discipline, valuation expertise, and real world corporate experience. A combination that will help young CAs understand what the professional world truly expects and how to rise above those expectations. With great excitement and deep respect, please join me in welcoming CA Asif Masani, CA Simran Kaur, and CA Kshitij Goel. Now, I would request Kusha and Arnav to please proceed with the questions.
Hello, ma'am. Hello, sir. So I'll proceed the first question. To ensure that the webinar runs smoothly, we have to break the ice. So the first question will be an icebreaker uh, for all of you. Uh, Tell us about the funniest and the worst day at your work and what it reveals about your role. Chinmay, you can. जी, ma'am. Yes.
Okay, yeah, I'll go first.
जी.
So when I start, it's going to be maybe the worst or the first day in my audit journey. So that was my first day. I joined the firm BDO. The office was in Gurgaon. I relocated, and I was really hoping that maybe I'll get off by 5 or 6. And day one, I got off at around 1 a.m. Second day, 2 a.m., 3 a.m., and it was kind of scary and funny at the same time because I hadn't expected the working hours to go at this stretch, even though you must have heard stories that audits require so many extensive hours. But till the time you don't experience, you don't know how it looks like. And back then there was no remote work. It was, I think, 2016 or 2017. And yeah, 2016. So there was no concept of remote working as such, and we used to work from client place. It was the end of an audit, so I used to think that maybe this is how my life will look like now. I will never see an evening sun or morning. But no, it actually wasn't the case. It was the closing of an audit, and things kind of smoothened after that. I don't really remember a very funny story as such that I can call a funny day. Um, uh, but this is how it began.
Okay. Okay, ma'am.
So maybe I can go next. So this was in my very first FP&A role back in 2013, and it was my first time I was creating a presentation for my manager and my seniors. And I was very excited that this was the first opportunity that I will be sharing something that I can create and present also. So I spent about the entire week gathering all the information and data and also creating the presentation. Yeah. Just the day before the presentation, what happened was it was reviewed by my senior, and the senior did not like it and asked me to change everything that I had done. Okay. Then I was very confused because this was something that I had put a lot of effort and work in, and others had liked the presentation except for my boss. So I asked some of my other seniors who were uh, around, and they just asked me, "Your presentation was great. You just have to make sure that it is formatted as per the manager's liking. So just change the gray color to blue and just change the line chart to a waterfall chart, and it should be fine." I just made two or three formatting changes and exactly the same presentation, and it was liked by my manager. So sometimes it might not be the hard work. Sometimes it might be something that you might have to figure out in terms of working smart. Okay, so that was something very funny I found. Just the formatting changed the entire presentation.
So I'll share my story. Actually, it's a bit funny for in terms of a long term, because I had a second day of joining post qualification, and the background I had, mostly I think the lot of us, the CA intern, does not have too much time to gel together or party or something like that, and we are all occupied in studying or either other things or personal matters. But this was the second day, and it was Friday, and my teammates who were in the organization for past many years has asked to चल चल बाहर चलते हैं, and it will be a Friday night. And Gurgaon, I'm based out in Gurgaon, Delhi NCR. So Gurgaon parties are very great. So I went with them, and I had a great time with them. Actually, it was a very rememberable night. But after till 1 year, we have no such kind of a celebration after that. So I was under misconception that the parties happen every Friday or every Saturday, but didn't go well after that. So that was funny for me to miss understood some things, and I keep laughing about it after that.
सो आई थिंक आप लोगों के वर्स्ट और फनी एक्सपीरियंस भी काफी मतलब एक स्टूडेंट वो कर पाएगा, जो एक नया फ्रेशर है वो भी रिलेट कर पाएगा। तो आई थिंक आइस ब्रेक हो चुकी है वेबिनार के। अच्छे क्वेश्चंस हम स्टार्ट करते हैं। चलो क्वेश्चन नेक्स्ट।
Okay, so the next question is about your work week. So walk us through what a typical work week in your current role looks like number of hours, interactions, and the skills that you use the most.
Should I go first? Yeah.
Sure,
Okay.
ma'am.
Yeah, we'll follow that order only. Simran, then me, and then Kshitij can go.
Okay. So as of now, I'm working for PwC, and my most clients are based in US. This is a global audit practice. So what I'm going to tell about my week, I actually will divide it in two halves. If somebody is working in India practice, because people are concerned about how their work week will look like if they're working in audit, and I will also answer how they look like in global practice. So in audit, I'm sure it is also the case with other consulting organizations. There's this concept of timesheets. and so one should know about it. So what I generally find, because I have also worked in India practice, people work for 12, 13 hours sometimes, and they generally charge for 9, 10, 11 hours, and it is kind of flexible, what I've experienced. But in global practice, there is this set expectations. There are some weeks where one is expected to work 40, 50, 55. Sometimes it go beyond 65 as well, depending on the season and the expectations and how the firm is loaded with work. So this is how the number of hours look like. So in both cases, in global and Indian, the number of hours are extensive. But I would say, what I have experienced in global audit firms these days, the accountability for the hours is strict. Like, they actually want you to justify the time you are charging. In India, Indian practice, it is kind of flexible that yeah, okay, you were in the office or you were at the client place, so you can charge for the time. So when we talk about interactions, while working for Indian audits, I have seen that even if you are an intern or an entry level professional who is qualified, you get the opportunity to interact with C-suite people, key managerial people. Like, you can interact with CFO or CEO for your specific audit area, and you deal with multiple teams. If you have a question, for example, someone's doing expenses, they can go and talk to the marketing team about their the expenses they have charged, or if they're working on investments or something around the same, they can go ahead and talk to the relevant teams. And it is fluid, like, you are allowed to interact with so many people. In global practice, it depends on engagement to engagement. I'm sure so many people must have heard that, okay, in global practice you don't get the opportunity to deal directly with client. That is not completely true, but partially true. That in some engagements you are allowed to deal directly with client, and you can go ahead and schedule calls and ask them over emails. But on some engagements, one is only allowed to let their onshore counterparts know what exactly they need, what the queries are, and then only they can interact with the client. um I think your next question was about skills. So in my day to day, I think for audit, technical skills are generally audit and accounting, which everybody already know. But other skills, I think the soft skills which are required are effective stakeholder management and communicating expectations and deadlines. These are the things which matter most these days. Yeah, I'm done.
Okay. After Simran, I'll probably go next. So I also started working when I started my career in after completing my CA. I was also working in audit, and then I moved into FP&A. So that was experience from moving from an audit profile after working there for good 3.5, 4 years, and then moving into FP&A. So before I talk about the usual week in FP&A, let me first show you how does a typical CFO office looks like in large organizations. So let me share my screen for that. Okay, let me share my screen. Kusha, Arnav, if you can let me know if you're able to see my screen.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so typically in large organizations, when I mean large organizations, I am talking about organizations where you have $500 million plus of revenues, um, maybe 500,000 plus employees. So that is the sort of organization I'm talking about. Okay, in such organizations, you typically have a very big finance team, and usually it is these three teams. Okay, so you have the CFO, and to the CFO you have reporting. You have directly three reporting heads. One is the accounting or the controller team, followed by FP&A, and then some companies also have a treasury team. Now, under the accounting and the controller team, you have different functions, including the accounts payables, accounts receivable, taxation. Okay. Similarly, you have the treasury team. And what does the FP&A team do? It typically works on these four areas, I would say 80% of the times, and there would be other ad hoc functions or activities, which could be the other 20%, but majority of the time they would be either working on the budgets for the organization, which is typically preparing the next year or the next quarter budget or the next quarter forecast, forecasting, financial analysis, which could be profitability analysis, or it could be variance analysis on what happened in the actuals versus the budget, or how does the next quarter look like. how could we improve the next quarter, looking at the historical performance of the previous quarter. Okay, and then some commercial support, or I would say supporting the business teams on making commercial decisions. Okay, should we accept this contract or not? Okay, how does this client uh, would accepting this new client add profit to the company, or it would be a loss-making client? Okay, so all of these decisions usually are taken by the CFO, and the FP&A team is the decision support team that helps the CFO make those decisions. Okay, so this is typically how the CFO office looks like in large companies. In smaller or mid-sized companies, typically you would have the CFO, and CFO would itself be taking care of the FP&A function. Okay, so only when the company becomes a bigger company or it grows in size, you need a separate FP&A team. Okay, so now coming to the typical FP&A work week. So you have, so we talked about this. Let me go back. Okay, so you can typically, so again, this is what I'm sharing is a average of 20 different organizations. This could be different based on the size of the company, based on the industry, and based on the maturity of the FP&A team. So consider this as a average of many companies that we have surveyed in our experience. Okay, so typically your first week starts with something called as flash reporting. So flash reporting is the time when the books of accounts have not been closed by the controller team. Okay, but still the management wants to know what does the previous month look like, or they may still want to know estimated number of the previous month profit or the estimated number of the previous month revenue. So what FP&A team does is they create something called as a flash report, where they take the actual numbers till the time they have the visibility. Say for example, they have 25 days of actuals which have been accounted for, and then they could do a estimate for the remaining 5 days, and then they could present that as a estimated number. Once the books of accounts are closed, those numbers will change slightly. However, usually the flash reports are 95, 98% accurate. Okay. Then the accounting team closes the books. Once the books of accounts are closed, then the FP&A teams would start preparing the management reports. Now, management reports are reports that are sent to different business teams and the functional teams in the organizations. For example, they might be creating a report for the sales team. Okay, they might be creating a ROI analysis of the marketing performance for the marketing team. FP&A team might be creating a headcount and the salary report for the HR team. Okay, so they might be working on different reports. Usually these are called month-end reports, and these are sent to different business teams so that it can help the business teams take decisions, or also keep a track of how they are progressing versus the target or versus the budget that they have been given. This is typically how the week one looks like. Now, once this is done, week two is on forecasting. So what we do in this week is we take the last updated forecast. Okay. Now, forecast is something which is the projected performance for the next quarter or the next period. Okay, so you pick up the last forecast that you had done. It could be in the last month or the last quarter, and you start updating those forecasts for the assumptions. You actualize the numbers of the previous period, okay, and you update the forecast, speaking to the business teams. Once the business teams review it, once the CFO approves it, that forecast gets locked, and that forecast will now be used for the comparison purposes in the next period. So when you come to the week one in the next accounting period or the next month, you could use this forecast as a point of comparison while you are doing your management reports. But this is typically how the week two looks like. Week three is more or less of uh, analysis. So when you have sent the management reports, when you send the forecast updates in week one and week two, typically the management or the senior people in the organization will be looking at those reports. Sometimes you might have also done a presentation to them. Okay, so they'll come back to you with questions on your reports and your presentations, and you will have to do some more analysis based on their questions. Okay, so after doing the presentation or after sending the report, they might look at the report and they might tell you, okay, this is good, but tell me what is the reason why we are doing not as well as we had thought. for this particular product or for this particular line of business. Okay, then you'll have to go in depth and do some more analysis and share that analysis with them, which will help them in turn take some decisions. Okay, so ad hoc projects, automation. So typically, you want your week 1 and week 2 and week 4 to be as efficient as possible. So you would spend time automating a lot of stuff in week 3. And then once you've submitted the forecast in week 2, if there are any material risks or opportunities, meaning if there's something that has happened after week 2, after you've submitted the forecast, which could significantly change your forecast number, you should be tracking those items in detail and then send that to the seniors as a, I would say, as a update. And week 4 is more of a preparation for week 1. So what typically happens in week 4 is you start again preparing for the next FP&A cycle, where you would be updating your models, you would be you'll pick up the last month file, you're rolling that forward for the next month. You would update your dashboard for any changes that the management has requested. So those are the some of the things, and the flash reporting usually starts at the end of the month and it continues in week 1. So this is typically how the FP&A month look like. This calendar just excludes the budgeting process. So budgeting is not a monthly process. It's typically a annual activity. So it happens once in a year. So there is a separate budgeting calendar, which most companies follow, which maybe I can share in one of our future questions. So I'll take a pause here. I'll pass it on to Kshitij. I'm very curious to know how does the week or how does a month look like in FDD?
Yeah, thank you. That was very detailed, Asif sir. And I think me and Simran are not well prepared in that sense, the way you are presenting things. So
That's
I'll take
that's
liberty.
fine. So actually, I do this on a very frequent basis. I have it ready, but
Yeah.
that doesn't mean so. It's absolutely fine, Kshitij. But
Yeah, sure. Thank you. So I'll be very liberal with the audience right now. So since the question states that about your current role, so the current role would be quite different and you won't be able to relate it much. I'll talk most about that since first you qualify, then how would your role be defined if you pursue FDD or valuation? So FDD, I'll just take a minute to introduce FDD. So FDD basically is required whenever the company is going for any kind of a merger acquisition transactions. So they need there are two types of DD now. There first is that the company, which is the sell side, is asking to do a DD for them to submit the report to any investor. This we call a vendor due diligence. The second is the buyer due diligence, which is what we call a FDD, that the investor is asking us to do the due diligence of the company because either they want to invest or they want to acquire, whatever the purpose could be. But ultimately, the bottom objective is to see hidden red flags which might not be there in the audited financial statement. So now things, see, if you just keep on imagining things while I'm speaking. So in audit, there are a lot of things which are compliance driven. Due diligence is not much compliance driven. It is most from a perspective of that whether you as a buyer should be investing in this company considering the overall reporting, the revenues, the profitability, and your purpose. Is it making sense? So there are three parts in the DD which needs to be identified where where the whole scenario of acquisitions lies. First is that the revenue should continue. We call it quality of revenue. Second is there are no hidden surprises. We call it contingent liabilities. And third is that the debtors should pay, the asset should be in the good position, good condition. So we call it again quality of assets. So these are the three things which generally covers the due diligence. And valuation again is required for multiple purposes like compliances or transaction or arbitration. And once you start this profile, if you willing to do something into transaction, so FP&A is somehow could be related with DD and valuation for initially because the FP&A works is a prerequisite for anyone to do a valuation. If you don't understand the CMA data, which is the data which is the projections or the financial acumen, then you won't be able to analyze the company and value it. Also, for the DD perspective, you need a ground knowledge. So the working the working hours generally are very erratic in the due diligence, especially because if the DD is going on, then there is no weekends, there is no such like 8 hours or 9 hours working day. But if the DD is closed, then you would be sitting mostly idle or maybe knowledge improvement. So initially, the demand from the employee or the profile is very high in the due diligence because the stakes are very high. You need to understand whom you are reporting. You are reporting directly to the promoter or the investor. You are not reporting to any finance controller. You're not reporting to CFO as well. If the deal is very small in terms of promoters are involved, then you will be reporting directly to the promoter. Otherwise, if the deal is very large, then you will be reporting to the CFO. When we say you will be reporting, I am representing you as a one team for the consultant you're working. So you might be reporting to your manager, but ultimately the stakes are very high, so everything needs to be double checked. So working week in a due diligence is, there is no working week in a due diligence. My current DD, which has been going on, the team is there till 4 a.m. in the morning, and then they restart doing it at the 10 or 11 a.m. in the next day. So anyone who is up for such a stringent working hours should only consider. Also, there are companies like Big Fours and consultancy division which are doing offshore work for the global MNCs. There, the working hours is still very flexible, and they provide work from home and everything. So, if you ask me that what is my working week, how when I start and when I close. So, since I am in a leadership role, so my working week is still is okay because I start at 10 or 10:30 in the morning and then closes around 7 p.m. But as I'm speaking on the Sunday, so there are no such like a weekends. We are responsible for everything, and we can have little breaks, little flexibility, because that is also something which you might need in your career. You can start very high in the starting, but sometime you also need a rest or something like that. So initially you need to prepare your mind that in any field you might go, but if you want to outstand other person, or if you want just for your own knowledge, you want to do your own practice, or you want to do your own startup, then you might have to leave this working hour things and just don't look at the clock. Second, the skill set which is required in this. So uh, so I'll say that the skill set is not something that you need to know the standards, that you should know the actual literature. So this is not the skill set which is required in FDD evaluation. A logical mindset is something which is required. You should be able to diagnose the problem. If you are unable to diagnose the problem, then how hard you work does not make any sense, because you will be again and again giving the same result which the other person does not expect to receive from you. So problem analysis and team handling, these are the some areas which where the skill set is required. The basic knowledge about financial statement and everything is something which everyone has, and uh, and this is not something which stands out for you to be in the DD or in the valuation profile in the long run. So I'll close my answer with that.
So तो मतलब इतनी ज्यादा डिटेल में तो हमें सच में हमें खुद को नहीं पता था कि हाउ डज अ वीक इन FP&A और FDD और ऑडिट लुक लाइक। सो एंड आपने सर जैसे बताया क्षितिज सर की जो बिगिनिंग में स्टार्टिंग में अगर किसी को काम करना है स्टार्टअप्स पे बिजनेस पे तो दे शुड नॉट लुक एट वर्किंग आवर्स एंड वो। तो द नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन वाज कि वैसे आजकल मतलब सारे स्टूडेंट्स काफी मेंटल हेल्थ को लेके काफी वो सवाल पूछते हैं कि यार वी डोंट हैव अ वर्क लाइफ बैलेंस। so is this a serious thing to have a discussion, or it's irrelevant when you are working? So that was my
Uh,
question.
and it's definitely a very serious thing. So, however, how you define right mental health is going to be different for different people. So for me, if I am enjoying something I do, if I like something I do, and if you make me do that for 16 hours a day, I'll not feel any mental stress, right? Because I'm doing something that I like. If I like FP&A and if you am I working in FP&A for say 12 hours a day, it'll not be a challenge for me. However, if I hate doing FP&A and you make me do FP&A even for 8 hours a day or 10 hours a day, then you will start developing those mental health. So for me, I would right. It's very clear. If you don't like doing something, you should not stay there for a long time. Otherwise, you will have such issues. And even if you like doing something, you should not get over. Right. You should not be doing overdoing it. It's okay to have some peaks and valleys or some busy periods followed by a vacation, right? All those things should be part of your life. However, working continuously for 12 hours a day or 13 hours a day is not going to be healthy for anybody.
Yeah, if I have to share my opinion on this mental health debate, obviously it is very, very important. So what I'm going to share, I mean, it might be controversial. So when I started working, let's say articleship a few years um, back then I think me and many people have the mental and physical bandwidth that we can stretch for I think 16, 17, 18 hours some days, and we are just new to something and we want to learn, and we don't make much money, but we just want to invest in ourselves by spending those hours that we are building the ground for our future career. And I personally had the mental and physical bandwidth, and that's why I used to sit for long hours and work. But I think it is different for anyone at different stages of their career. Sometimes people cannot sit beyond 8 hours because of their physical health, and if their physical health is suffering, they might suffer mentally as well. And to each its own, their own circumstances and everything. So, like, Asif mentioned and like Kshitij shared that their respective profiles ask for a more number of hours. Even auditing is so, but it depends on the engagement, the firms, and the kind of practice you are into. So I believe that making a informed decision, and even if the decision went wrong and you joined a workplace and you find out that the hours are intensive and you do not want to work these many hours, or maybe your boss is toxic or the environment is such that you have a US role and all your meetings are at night and you do not want to work. So I think since we have this great degree, a CA degree, there are other options one can pursue. So yeah, we have to take care of our own mental health, and instead of trying to push ourselves to fit in, one should choose their own path.
So, I agree with what Asif and Simran has said, and this is something which cannot be answered in 1 minute or 2 minutes. But since we are here for a very short time, so there are lot of things which involved in the work-life balance. One which Asif mentioned, that if you enjoy your work, then there is no problem for you to manage your life because you are enjoying your life, that 8 hours or 10 hours. But most of the people, maybe including me at that time, didn't know that whether I enjoy this work or not, or I'm just in a rat race. I'm just going ahead with what have been told to me because I've invested 5 years of my lifetime in and doing and studying like it's a nightmare. I still get a nightmare. I am in CNUE, and so it's something like that that you it keeps on coming back to you, so you also want to enjoy your life after 5 years. It's not like that you keep on continuing to work and everything, and so ultimately the question would which you guys Gen Z would ask is that where is the pleasure? So where do I stop? Is it not a rat race? So see that again, if you are clear in your mind that you want to have some minimum salary or some minimum net worth, then you should forget about, like Shah Rukh Khan says, ki aram haram hai. This is what he generally says, and he's a very good speaker. So if you have some such expectation, then you should forget about the work-life balance or 60 hours or something like that. If you are still confused, then I'll say that start the process of thinking what you want, and it is something that it's not gonna answer in 1 year or 2 year, but you will start the process of expectations. What do you want? You might have heard a lot of news about newcomers like Zepto owners. They are might be younger than us, all the panelists, and but their net worth is so beyond imagination. Again, Perplexity owner Arvind has offered to buy Google. So these are exceptional cases, but there are a lot of cases which I know which are not in limelight, but they're still doing a great job, and they work 60 hours plus or 90 hours plus, in fact, in some cases, because this is their baby. They are doing work for their baby, for themselves. So to answer the question that if work-life balance is something that is paramount to you, you cannot work beyond a defined hour. So be vocal about that. Try to do such jobs which require timelines in as per your expectation. Because if you go into a front-end job like DD or in fact FP&A or audit as well, they are all front-end. Nothing is back-end. And so they will expect you to work till 10 p.m., 11 p.m. In fact, in industries, this is the culture that people work till 9, 10 p.m. on a regular basis. And I meet a lot of clients which says कि मैंने अपने बच्चे का बचपन ही नहीं देखा, मैं पूरा टाइम ही इधर रह गया. So if you're sure कि हमको ऐसा नहीं करना है यार, हमको इतना टाइम नहीं देना, पुरानी जनरेशन ने जो करा वो गलत माइंडसेट था, गलत बेंचमार्किंग उन्होंने करी है, तो वो फिर आप जॉब्स ही मत लो. आप जॉब्स ही ऐसी लो जिसमें आपके पास फ्लेक्सिबिलिटी हो, आप घर से भी काम कर सकते हो, आप कहीं घूमने भी जा सकते हो. लॉट ऑफ माई फ्रेंड आर ऑल्सो इन टू दोज जॉब्स, so that the process should be clear, your expectations should be clear. So ultimately, as Asif and Simran mentioned, that it is dependent upon you how you want to do it. If you like that work, then there is no working hour limitation. If you don't like that work, then choose a job which suits your curriculum and co-curricular activities.
Thank you for those answers, sir, Asif sir and Simran ma'am also. I think ultimately it depends from person to person. You have to have the self-awareness to understand what kind of balance you want. If you are sacrificing one thing, then you will gain something else. So I think yeah, to each their own, like Simran ma'am said, you have to find your own personal balance and decide what your target is. So, moving on to the next question. What is one thing that surprised you when you started working in this field, when you actually started working, versus when you were still in articleship or when you were very early in your career stage? Or essentially, any myths that you would like to bust about your field?
Okay, should I go first? Yeah. So, this is going to be funny. I mean, it was me of many, many years back, 8, 10 years back. So when I was yet to start my articleship and you just done inter, so there was this new glamorous thing about audit that you get to travel, you get to eat at nice places, and so on and so forth. Like stay, and you go to nice clients. They offer you meals, so that was one thing that I used to be very excited about. And once I joined, or I mean, this is maybe relevant for this, but once I joined audit and I was there for a year and a half, I was literally sick of it. And I think this is the case with everyone, because with this kind of lifestyle where you are supposed to travel for work very frequently, you actually do not have any control over your calendar, and you have to miss personal events sometimes. And sometimes people miss on their health goals as well. So yeah, this was a surprise before I joined audit, that the job requires a lot, um, and it's not at all glamorous only. It's actually a lot of hard work.
Yeah, I can add. Uh, I started also in audit. I worked in audit with EY for 3.5 years. Okay, and initially I also enjoyed the travel. So I was traveling about 6 months or 8 months in a year. Okay, every other week I used to be in a different city of India uh, for client audit. I liked it for a couple of years, and then I realized that something that I cannot sustain for the entire. That was probably one of the things that I enjoyed also in the first 1.5 year, but then it started. So I can relate with Simran. After I think 2 years, you start feeling homesick if you are away from the family. I remember I was once away from my family for 3 months because for the audit. And I think then I decided, okay, this is not something I can do for the long term. Okay, one thing that surprised me in when I moved into FP&A was actually the work-life balance. So I have worked in audit And also, I have not worked in FDD, but I have experienced FDD as a client. I have seen other consultants work with me on due diligence project while I was working with one or two companies. Okay, so compared to client-facing roles like audit and FDD, I would say that if you're working inside an organization, which is typically a FP&A role or a controller role or a treasury role, the chart that I showed, the work-life balance is, I would not say it's so it depends on the different organizations and the culture as well. But if you take an average of the organizations, right, it's comparatively less compared to. So I was surprised when I moved into the industry in FP&A roles. I was able to leave at 6 o'clock in the evening. There were times where I was able to leave at 5 o'clock in the evening, and only during the time when, say, for example, the first week of the month where FP&A team requires to do a lot of reporting, at that time I was doing late evenings. Or during the budget period, which is a 2 month period during a year, at that time we maybe work 1 or 2 weekends. So after moving out of FD, I would say audit roles and the client facing roles, I haven't worked a lot of weekends, which was very surprising and which was refreshingly surprising. So I would say, compared to the client-facing roles, I used to be working about 80% of my weekends. That came down to about 10-15%, so which was a good surprise in a way.
So, guys, I never knew that I wanted to work in a due diligence while in articleship. In fact, DD is something that I started in the organization 5 years back. I was valuation is my first baby. I am a core valuation guy, and then DD is something that we have set it up. And I have been in the same organization for since my articleship, and so I've seen the complete journey. So in articleship, I had a mixed profile in which I did valuation, very few part, very you will say clerical work, not very analytical work, because that is being handled by AM or M. And due diligence was not there, audit was there, concurrent audit was very much there, and some part of taxation was there. So I was keen to join taxation because of the same reason which Asif and Simran mentioned, that I have been brought up with the in a family near to the family. I'm based out in Delhi only, and I'm not outsider in the terms that I do not live separated from the family. So I didn't want to do audit for that same reason, also some personal reasons. So I found, since valuation was a very limited role which I handled in articleship, I found tax to be a little giving me upside of salaries, and also something which is in demand, like pricing was very much in demand in early 2012-13. So I wanted to do international taxation. But you can say that it's a blessing in disguise that I didn't get any jobs for the tax because I have very limited experience after qualification of taxation. I got a lot of offers from audit, from Big Fours and every other organization, but I chose to stay in the firm and then started in the valuation. So, uh, so 10 years horizon, I won't be able to answer 10 year back how it looked and how it is going right now. But 5 year horizon, I can still share my experience that this is something that I still know that after 5 years or after 10 years, this profile will only improve, because you have to understand the mathematics of how profile works, how demand and supply works. So, since there are a lot of investments and FDI and investments from global firms are there, and also India plays a pivotal role in how they're placed in globally in the economy, and because of many reasons, and there's a quite a history for that. So investments will always be there in India, and once the investment is there, consolidation will also happen, and because of profitability will be an issue. You will see right now there are a lot of startup which started 10 years back. There is a issues, or there are pressure on the profitability, and everyone wants to just report a profit whether it's a profit or not, like an example of Lenskart. You all have Instagram, you must have scrolled all day and night and saw a lot of reels are there on on Lenskart IPO. So the point is that profitability is a key for any business to survive. And for surviving that, the acquisition has to happen because the big player buys the small players which are profitable just to show the profit and in the long term, and they have to sensitize the cost and everything. So be a part of those profile which adds value to the promoter, to the investors, and you will be rewarded. If you kept on be a part of a system where the anyone looks at you as a cost, then the increment will be very limited, the growth will be very limited. Even if you are doing audit, so try to do audits like forensics or something like that which adds value to the investor. Also FP&A is a very important role now because of the mindset of the promoters or the investors. They just sleep one night and then came up with a new idea tomorrow, and they just want their FP&A guy, and they just want their FP&A guy to build a model overnight. So try to be a front end guy, and because that helps in monetizing a lot of things. And this profile is very good. In fact, all these profile are very good on which we are having discussion. So, but in order for you to understand that how you can choose profiles, so it should be not just a watchdog profile, not very similar to a stat audit. There are a lot of attrition in stat audit. Stat audit has the highest attrition in the CA profile, which is like something everyone is shuffling from one big four to other big four just because to find their peace, and then they ultimately end up in industry because they are best suited for the role of finance controller, and they want stability, like Asif mentioned, that the working hours are still flexible and they can work till 6 or 7. That is the reason that you will see lot of big four CAs in the start audit joining as a finance controller, AVP, and then turning out to be a CFO, which is also very good. But initially, see, this answer is linked to the previous question. Initially, you have to put lot of efforts, and after a while only you can expect things that we are sitting on Sunday and Monday also. It's very easy, and you can come office at 11 or 12. Nobody will ask you because you have already performed. Your work speaks for yourself.
These were
I'll end my
also,
answer with that.
yes, sir.
I'll end my answer with that.
Okay, okay.
One second,
So,
Arnav, before we move on to the next question, just want to
mm,
welcome CA Shashi Kumar sir. He is the chairman of the Muzaffarpur branch of CIRC ICI. So welcome, sir. Now, Arnav, you can continue.
mm. So, beyond the education point of view, yeah, beyond the CA qualification, we have to put in 5 hours of our effort and hard work in studying itself. So, apart from studying, is there any top 2 or 3 skills that a student can learn or uh, uh, can मतलब अपने एनहांस कर सकते हैं जिससे उसके मतलब डिग्री तो उसके पास है ही तो स्किल्स के साथ उसकी डिग्री की वैल्यू और बढ़ जाए इज देयर एनी 2 or 3 skills that you guys can quote on?
Yeah, I will go first. Actually, I had thought about this question. So I will divide those skills which you can additionally get, to enhance your value as a professional. I will divide them into three. Um, First is technology, because these days we know technology is key part of our jobs. So
Mm,
technology will include basics from sending an Outlook email, how to figure out your Outlook inbox and outbox, and what all features you have. I mean, this is very simple, but I have seen people who are on the job and are not aware. And if you can get like a 20-30 minutes course on some platform, it'll help you. Then other parts of technology, that these days one should be aware of what Gen AI is, even though no job directly asks for it, but it is kind of having a pervasive impact of on all the jobs. Then technology back in our days included Excel, which everybody should know, but still people sometimes don't know exactly how to work efficiently on Excel. The second kind of skills I would say is soft skills, and they are very important. And I've seen so many young professionals not knowing how to negotiate. I mean, this is basic, and this is how your pay package will start, and then you have to negotiate on a daily basis regarding timelines, regarding asking for more people in your team and stuff. So this is one soft skill one should know. And the other thing, I've seen sometimes colleagues or young people not knowing the importance of is small talk. And I have heard people saying, why would I have small talk? I only talk about meaningful stuff. Why would I ask about someone's weekend or what they are doing? Anything about that. But trust me, when you have small talk with important people around you or people around you, people remember you. So this is one thing. People are sometimes shy or something, so they should work on this. And third, and very important, is language. Language, it's basic English language. It could be other languages if you are working into that, but basic English, like correct grammar. Even though we have tools while we are working where we can correct our grammar, but phrasing, well, it could be phrasing. Even your the format we have for your appraisal every year, I have seen that there are people who have worked intensive hours and done a lot of work, but they don't know how to put it together when they have to share it with the manager what exactly they achieved for the year. This is one example. Sometimes, drafting good emails and being able to communicate efficiently, and language plays a good part in that. So yeah, to summarize, technology, soft skills, and language.
Thanks, Simran. I can talk about very specific for FP&A. So uh, the top three skills I would say the most important would be your ability to translate the assumptions of the business or the drivers of the business into something which can be fitted in a spreadsheet or creating a revenue model or an expense model. So financial modeling is, I would say, one of the core skills. And I'm not talking about the basic Excel skills, but this is much more advanced where you are creating financial models using company data or the drivers of the different parts of the business and coming up with the projection for the next 12 months or next 3 years. Okay, so financial modeling is probably the important skill in FP&A. Without that, you will find it very difficult to create a lot of impactful models and presentations. Okay, so that is one. Second, I would say is a combination of data analytics and data visualization. So you should be able to comprehend large sets of data. So typically in the organizations, you'll have a database which might run over a million uh, data rows, or it might be a very huge data set. So you should be able to comprehend that data. You should be able to assess the quality of the data, be able to clean that data. So data analysis, data cleaning, and then also your ability, once you have cleaned the data and once you have analyzed that data, you should be able to create, you should be able to translate that data into something which is easily communicated through a visual format, which is a dashboard. Okay, so your skills with tools like Power Query and Power BI, Tableau become important. So the second one would be data analysis and data visualization. And third, which is very popular, as Simran also mentioned, the AI tools that are coming up these days. A lot of the companies are in the process of implementing enterprise grade AI tools. So, like you have ChatGPT and Copilot and Gemini and Claude, right? A lot of the companies are in the process of creating enterprise level AI tools. What does that mean is they are creating a similar environment inside the organization so that the organization data doesn't go outside, it remains inside the organization, and you will have similar ability to prompt with those tools and you will be able to interact with those tools. So yeah, these are the top three: financial modeling, data analysis and data visualization, and then your ability to be able to interact with the AI tools.
So Simran ji and Asif ji have stated everything. So nothing left from my side. So, but I'll still answer the question because this is something where the CAs are very poor, and this one skill set actually uh, uh, make us so inferior to an MBA, and that is a marketing. Guys, three skill set: marketing, marketing, and marketing. We CAs are very poor in marketing. Very poor means very much poor. And Simran ji mentioned about mostly about soft skills. Asif ji mentioned about some technical skill set. And but marketing is something that you actually need to learn a lot. So I'll take a flexibility to answer the next question, which is which course you see that you want to do apart from CA. If you don't have a financial obligation, if you don't have anything that you want to start money so early, then and you are good with studies, or you want to keep studying for next 1 or 2 hours, do MBA only from IIM, otherwise don't do MBA. After 2 years of qualification, do ISB. These are the only two things which you need to do, and marketing should be the focus, because marketing is very essential for you to continue growth, and you can hire people for everything virtually in your office or in your team or in a leadership role. But marketing is something that you would be responsible. You cannot hire someone to do marketing for you. When my father used to do the groceries shop, run a grocery shop when I was too young, so he keeps on telling me one thing, that कोई किसी को कमा कर नहीं देता है. सो दिस इज एक्चुअली ट्रू इन ऑल प्रोफेशन, कि आपको खुद की कमाई खुद ही ढूंढनी पड़ेगी. चाहे आप वो सैलरी करो, आप वो जॉब करो, या फिर आप कोई एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप करो. बट मार्केटिंग इज समथिंग दैट यू नीड टू लर्न एक्चुअली, if you have time and you don't have a financial obligation.
Yeah, Arnav, can I add to Kshitij? Maybe take 1 more minute.
Yeah, please, please.
Yeah. Now,
Please,
some
go
of you might be thinking, right, we are finance people, and how is marketing important, right? Marketing is a separate team, separate department. How can finance do marketing? So what this I would interpret is like you should be marketing yourself as a professional. So there are a few things that you can do. One is you should be visible inside your own organization. Okay, so how do you do that? Some examples I can take. Uh, to become visible. Okay, volunteer for any committees that are there in your particular function, right? If there is a voluntary committee that is forming to help the business, you become a part of it. Okay, if there is some training that you are good at, or some tool that you are good at, and you can train other people in the organization, you can be visible in front of, I don't know, 200 300 people when you are training those people, right? So figure out ways that you become visible inside the organization, that is marketing yourself inside the organization and also outside the organization. So nowadays you have social media platforms like LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram. Okay, if you are going to be good at something, you should also make sure that you have a portfolio which anybody can refer. So for example, in FP&A, I would at least expect that somebody who's coming for an interview, they have a portfolio showing a financial model that they have built, showing a Power BI dashboard they have built, showing a 5-page presentation they have built for a CFO. Okay, so uh, you should be marketing yourself as a professional both inside the organization and outside the organization. Inside the organization, there are different ways. Outside the organization, you have social media. Okay, so make sure that you don't keep your expertise to yourself. You should be marketing it. As I would probably mean that what Kshitij mentioned in terms of marketing.
Asif ji has said a very important thing, guys. This is very, very important, that you should be visible. Actually, he has correctly put what I have said, and given you a clear picture. Because of the hesitation, I also has a hesitation when I was doing articleship. हमारे यहाँ पे orientation होती थी 200-250 लोगों की, and they keep on calling on the stage. So, and in the background, which generally 90% of the CA student resonates, that we are not comfortable with public speaking. So this has lot of branches. Marketing has lot of branches. So for a quick takeaway, what Asif ji has said is very important, and start working on that.
Thank you for these answers. In fact, I think from your time till even today's time, currency aspirants still face this issue, the communication and the marketing thing. And like Simran ma'am mentioned, the AI skills. Even today, when you ask someone for advice on what soft skills to build for a CA, they say the same thing कि MBA में और CA में यही फर्क होता है कि they know how to sell themselves. CAs don't know how to, market themselves in front of people. So now moving on to the next question, like Kshitij sir, you have also done CFA. Currently, if you look at the CA aspirants right now, बच्चे सिर्फ सीए नहीं कर रहे होते. A lot of people are doing simultaneously CMA, CFA, CPA, and there are numerous other courses, additional courses. So what is your take on that? Like, do you think कि need होती है? Like, give us a candid, brutal opinion. कि do you think apart from CA, people should be doing additional courses for your specific role?
So first of all, everyone needs to understand that CA is not something that can continue. The knowledge you gained in 4 years can continue for next 40 years. So you cannot give up studying eventually, and it's a role. And I have seen, in fact, everyone have in the panel must have seen people who has done so many courses that I cannot even count, LLB, CS, and everything. But they do it because they like it. But to answer your question, that since it's a smart world now, we don't want to be into something that we keep on studying, and we are sitting with our child in the LLB for the law exams. So we don't want that situation as well. That is why we are discussing this. So basically, CFA is a fantastic course. I like it more than a CA because it's more practical. It is more technical, and it is not theoretical as it used to be at our times. We used to have IT as a theory subject at our time, so now things have changed, I think. But CFA is a very good course. But if you ask me one recommendation, then you should only do MBAs and nothing else. If you have a limitation on studying and everything, you can pursue CFA in articleship. You can give two groups in articleship, and one group, one level would be only left, which you can manage easily after articleship and or after qualification, because you don't have to go anywhere to take the lectures or something like that. But MBA is a must for everyone who wants a very promising career, and they have very high expectation from themselves, only for them.
Simran ma'am, you can go ahead with the answer.
Yeah, so my opinion on certifications, because you specifically had mentioned certifications. Obviously, I am keen and I like what Kshitij just said about MBAs. Apart from that, I have seen that there are people जो अभी just CA clear किया and they are doing ACCA, CPA US or something like something, because वो भी accounting जैसा है तो हम कर लेते हैं. So I would say that is immense investment of your time, energy, and money as well. So personally what I feel is, if you have joined a job और आपने पहले से जैसे CFA उन्होंने बोला कि स्टार्ट कर चुके हैं और you have already made up your mind कि MBA करना है कुछ, if you haven't started something or you're confused what exactly you want to do, you should wait for a year or two maybe, what exactly the job you get, because जो भी प्लान करते हैं ज़रूरी नहीं कि वही प्रोफाइल मिले एंड यू हैव ऑलरेडी स्पेंड योर टाइम एंड मनी एक और क्वालिफिकेशन में और पता चलता है आपको जॉब कुछ और मिल रहा है. सो फॉर एग्जाम्पल समटाइम्स पीपल लैंड अप इन IT ऑडिट्स बिकॉज उसमें रोल में जॉब मिल रहा था बाकी में नहीं मिल रहा था. तो मे बी अ फ्यू ईयर्स डाउन द लाइन यू विल कंसिडर डूइंग सीसा इफ यू लाइक द प्रोफाइल. ईयर और टू आपको इंटरनल ऑडिट मिलता है तो यू माइट कंसिडर डूइंग CIA विच इज़ मोर रेलिवेंट इफ़ यू आर इनटू इंटरनल ऑडिट. और फॉर एग्जांपल किसी का प्लान बन जाता है और somebody is considering moving abroad, सो जो भी रेलिवेंट जहाँ पे भी जाते हैं CPA ऑस्ट्रेलिया US कनाडा जहाँ भी जाते हैं दे कैन डू दैट. सो व्हाट आई फील इज इंस्टेड ऑफ रशिंग कि अभी पढ़ाई ख़त्म हुई है तो कुछ और करना ही है एंड वी डोंट हैव अ क्लैरिटी कि क्या करना है, unless you have clarity about what role you are getting into or what exactly you want from your career. So you should wait for a year or two and figure out. In the meanwhile, one can do small courses to keep upgrading themselves via YouTube, Udemy, Coursera, जो भी कुछ available है. So keep learning new skills लेना कभी मत रुकिए. But for certifications you may take some time to figure out.
Yeah, I would probably agree with both Kshitij and Simran. So there are two parts to my answer. Okay, so first I'll talk about generic in terms of, I'm not assuming you're doing FP&A. Okay, so I'm assuming that you're doing any one of the finance roles. Okay. In that case, earlier, what used to be in our times, which is probably 15 years back or 12 years back, uh, right? Everybody was doing CA and then they were doing one more certification along with that, right? Either CS or CPA or CFA, right? Now things have changed. Uh, Things are changing so fast that by the time you will complete your whatever certification you're doing, that will become redundant. Okay, that was not the case 12 years back. So I agree with Simran that you should not be spending a time doing a certification or a course just for the sake of the degree or sake of the qualification, especially if you are a CA and you already have one uh, a very reputed certification, which is a CA certification. Okay, so that is sufficient enough. Now you should be doing another certification, only one. If you are interested in that, you like doing that, you would have done that irrespective of somebody paying you or not paying you in your job. Okay, so if you like doing that, you go ahead with that, because then it is something of out of your will and your interest. You should not be forcing yourself to do any certification. uh, and so this was my general advice on certifications. Now if you are working in specifically in FP&A, and if you want to do one of the certification, okay, there are two certifications that I would highly recommend. One is the CMA certification from the US, which is very closely aligned to what FP&A people do in their roles, and it will help you clarify a lot of conceptual clarity in terms of what happens in management accounting and FP&A. So if you are planning to work in FP&A and if you have to do one certification, I would pick CMA over CFA, CPA, or MBA, because this is very specific to FP&A and you will use a lot of those things in your role directly. Okay, so that is one on FP&A. And also along again, CMA is I would say academic qualification. It will give you conceptual clarity. Another thing you could do is you could, and this is not true for just FP&A, this is true for all the other finance fields. Be if you're doing uh, investment banking or equity research or due diligence or valuation, right? You should pick one in-depth certification in your profile. So for example, if you're doing investment banking, you should do one detailed certification which is solely focused on investment banking. Or if you're doing FP&A, you should figure out one top certification in FP&A, so that you understand the in and out of their role, that role. That will not only help you with your interviews and with your giving that weightage on your resume, but also it will help you during the work when you start transitioning from whatever role you're doing, whether it is accounting, whether it is articleship, whether it is any other role you're moving from that role into FP&A. It'll help you in the first 2-3 years immensely. So I think for FP&A, I would recommend to CMA if you want to do a academic qualification, and pick one of the top FP&A certifications. You can research online and pick one of the top FP&A certifications, top five, one of the top five that are recognized globally, and go ahead with that if you want to make a career in FP&A.
I think we might have confused everyone
Yeah, yeah. So
with different
yeah,
answers.
yeah. Yeah, so again,
So,
see, these are because we're coming from different backgrounds, right? So, uh, you are very specific about FDD and valuation, and Simran is very specific about audit. Okay, I'm talking about very specifically. अगर आपको FP&A में आना है, so then CMA would be a better option versus a CFA, because CFA is more of portfolio management, uh, 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 then equity research, investment banking. For those kind of roles, the CFA is a good option. However, if you want to get into FP&A, then so I think it's good that they get different perspectives from different backgrounds as well. So although it might be confusing, but they can then decide they are CAs, right? So they can make up their mind based on whatever they hear.
बॉटम लाइन अपना रिटर्न ऑन इन्वेस्टमेंट देखो कि
Yes,
फायदा होने वाला है. जस्ट डोंट डू फॉर द सेक ऑफ
yes,
टू योर नेम.
yeah,
so, so on this point, actually, I beg to differ with both of you because I have a very different mindset. And why I differ is because that the technical skill set 3 year down the line is easily replaceable with the
Yeah.
tools which everyone is making and everyone is doing. We have been using we have started using AI tools for official work. And if you know that Deloitte has made a complete report in Australia with the AI tool, and they submit it to the government, so they will improve the tool obviously. But the thing is that you already have a technical knowledge which can be improved for next 50 years as well if you keep on studying. But the thing in which we are very poor is the soft skill, which I relate the answer with Miss Simran, that soft skill is something that you need to improve, because पास होने के लिए भी एक पेपर में 40 नंबर चाहिए आपको।
Yeah.
आपने आपने एग्जाम्शन पे एग्जाम्शन आ रही है 3 पेपर में, वो एक पेपर रह जाएगा आपका, वो सॉफ्ट स्किल वाला पेपर है जिसमें 40 तो चाहिए आपको मिनिमम। तो वो पहले जो बिल्कुल ही पुअर वाला है ना, सीए करने के बाद वो पुअर वाले पे जैसे मर्जी काम करो, एमबीए करनी है नहीं करनी है और कुछ करना है, बट उसको इम्प्रूवमेंट पे आप लगाओ धीरे धीरे। वो बहुत टाइम लगता है उसको इम्प्रूव होने में, वो 15 दिन की जीएमसीएस में इम्प्रूव नहीं होता।
That's true.
So the courses you recommend were completely different.
Yeah.
Somebody recommended MBA, somebody recommended CMA, and ma'am, you said ki you stick to the main course and do little courses while pursuing CA or after that. So
Till
while stick, yeah, please,
Yeah, I was just saying that till the time you figure out what exactly वो technical वाले part में,
जी
and
जी
like Kshitij mentioned कि soft skills is important. Yes, soft skills is important. अगर किसी के पास time, energy, bandwidth सब कुछ है तो go for MBA. Otherwise, if not तो थोड़ा अपने comfort zone से बाहर निकल के just learn about it and try to be more vocal, और थोड़ा बहुत improve करने की कोशिश अपने current role में कर सकते हैं. If somebody is not having the bandwidth to go all in for a full-fledged course.
okay. So now while sticking to the CA course itself, so you guys have experience of 8 or 10 years plus. So what is the growth aspect in your respective domains, your respective fields look like? What is the career trajectory like? Or whether it depends upon the firm, whether you've done articleship or whether you are currently, or it depends upon your depends upon the uh, uh, whether it depends upon your कि आपके यूज केस की what you are providing to the firm in terms of are you a resource or are you a waste material? So can you please explain that?
ओके, आपने दो तीन क्वेश्चंस कंबाइन वो थोड़ा कर दिया है मिक्स.
जी
सो
जी जी
लेट मी जस्ट सिंप्लीफाई इट फर्स्ट. सो आई थिंक सो फर्स्ट आपने पूछा है कि इफ somebody goes for a role in audit, for me, so audit, so how does the growth trajectory looks like? So if we go simply in audit, so you see that in 5 years people make manager. Generally, if they start from associate or senior, and five is maximum, they can do it sooner. And then in 10 years you see people director somewhere close to partner depending on the structure again. But I don't really know if climbing the hierarchy is everyone's goal. What I have seen in my circle since last few years, how people are elevating their lives or their careers. I have seen many people, because audit is a fluid field. Even though people are working in Indian audits or global audits, there are people who are keen to move abroad, and they want to set up their life and the career. So audit provides a good platform because generally the principles of audit remain same globally. And if somebody is working in global firms like the big fours or BDO, GT, and other famous firms, they just get this recognition that whatever work they have done is going to remain same globally. So there are chances that they can get those jobs easy. This is one way. The other one, climbing the corporate ladder, like I mentioned, that one can do. And the other question you had was like the articleship. If somebody has done their articleship from big four or another firm, mid-tier or small firm, what impact does that make? What I have felt is, my articleship was from BDO. It is one of the big five six. And So your articleship from a famous employer, what I can say, does make an impact that you get to set your foot easily once you crack the course. You get interviews easier than others mostly, but there are the criteria. Somebody got a rank, or each organization has their own criteria. After a year or two of getting a job, your articleship experience won't really matter because others will also catch up. And generally, for Big Four articleships, the vacancies are lesser, so not everybody will get a chance to do their articleship from a popular firm. But one should do whatever best they can do based on the available opportunities. Um, um, so even people who do it from mid-tier or small-tier firm, they easily catch up in a year or two after they qualify, and the vacancies are in larger numbers for the qualified candidates. So there shouldn't be a big issue finding a job afterwards in a Big Four, even if the person couldn't get an articleship there.
Thanks, Simran. So I can talk about FP&A's career progression, how typically it works. So what happens is you join with some experience as an article, or maybe 1 year experience in working after your CA. It could be in audit, it could be in industry. So that is how you start your FP&A career. So initially you start as a analyst or a senior analyst. You work as an analyst or a senior analyst again for 3 or 4 years, maybe 2 years each as an analyst and 2 years as a senior analyst. And then eventually you become a FP&A manager with a team of about 10 to 15 people under you. That is somewhere around 5 to 6 years. Uh, and then in larger organizations, there's a senior manager. After manager, you become a director. You become associate vice president, AVP. They become a president. Eventually, you end up being one level below the CFO. And if you are lucky, or if you have the right networking and if you have the right experience, you might end up becoming a CFO of a large organization in about, I would say, 15 years or so after starting. So that is how you start: analyst, senior analyst, manager, uh, senior manager, director, associate director, associate vice president, president, and then you eventually become a CFO. Okay, so that is a career path, which is a traditional straight line career path. Uh, However, a lot of people don't follow that. What I've seen people do also is, apart from this, they take some experience from different profiles. For example, they worked for 3 4 years in audit, like, okay, they worked in 3 4 years in FDD. They worked 3 4 years in FP&A. Okay, they worked 3 to 4 years in treasury. All of these experiences are required to become a CFO. Okay, so a lot of people also take that path where they do 3 to 4 years in different roles, and they eventually become a CFO in a mid-sized organization. Okay, I'm not talking about large organization. I'm talking about uh, either a well-funded startup or a mid-sized organization, because there becoming a CFO is fairly, uh, I would not say easier, but it takes less time compared to becoming a CFO in a Fortune 100 company or a Sensex 100 company. Okay, so those are the two different career paths. One is you could climb straight up from analyst to a CFO. That might take a long time. It might take 15, 18 years. Okay, other option is you take different experiences, you build your portfolio and have all the experiences that are required to become a CFO. Also, I've seen a lot of people after working in FP&A, they get into the operations and the business side, because FP&A team directly interacts with the business uh, on a day-to-day basis. A lot of people get interested in the operation side of the business. They become sales head, they become marketing head, they start their own businesses, right? So a lot of other options are there once you become, I would say, 5 to 7 years of experience in FP&A. So it's not a straight path. A lot of people follow the straight path. A lot of people take different experiences. A lot of people start something new, uh, get into business side or start their own business.
So I think the hierarchy and the path is well covered by Asif ji and Simran ji. So Arnav, your question also relate to the monetary terms that you want your participants to be informed, or is it only restricted to these areas?
Yes, we would love to hear about monetary terms also.
See, for a tier one cities, the salary starting in due diligence or valuation in any firm, not specifically to our, but any firm would be, I guess, minimum 10 lakhs right now. And to a candidate which have a similar experience or not a similar, but a hardworking experience candidate who just generally are keen to work in the profile and a long-term resource, we end up giving 30%, 40% more as well. And in Big Fours, it would be in the same range, 10 minimum, 10, 11. And because people from our team has only gone in articleship, after articleship, they've gone to Big Four. And outsourcing global support centers would also pay a similar packages start initially in any profile, in fact, not DD and everything, but all profile put together, like 10, 11 is minimum. They generally pay it 11 or 12, and good candidates also get more than. The surprising thing is that companies like D Shaw or other big firms pay a package which is more than a package of a MBA, 40 lakhs, 35 lakhs, and people from our firm has got that. And that was very promising, and one in a maybe thousand, which generally we see. I have not seen some packages like that initially. And a overall bracket or a range for companies which are not as big as D Shaw, but still good companies or global firms pays 19 to 20 initially. But getting into that takes a lot of efforts, and maybe rank could be a criteria, not a criteria, but the people who has got does not have a rank, are not the rank holder, who has got into these firms from our firm. But having said that, these are the overall range. I won't be able to talk about tier two. I don't have any experience in that.
Also, Asif sir and Simran ma'am,
Mhm.
if you could also
Yeah.
give like a brief idea about the
Yes.
salary progression.
So let me talk about FP&A. So very similar to due diligence, starting is very similar. So I would say it starts anywhere between 8 lakhs to 15 lakhs as a analyst or a senior analyst. Now 8 lakhs to 15 lakhs, it depends on a tier one or a tier two city. Tier two might be on the lower end. Also, your background also has a impact on that. If you're coming from a big four background, it might be slightly higher compared to a mid-size articleship firm. So 8 to 15 is analyst, senior analyst. By the time you become a manager, you tend to be around 25 to 30. Um, as you become more senior, say you become a senior manager or director, it goes from 35 to 50. And when you become the head of FP&A or you become one level down the CFO, it is around 60 to 70. And CFO is usually in the upwards of 80 to 1 CR plus.
Sir, Asif sir, I want to ask you something. जैसे you said कि one level down. So can you quote what is the position one level down to
Yeah, yeah,
CFO?
yeah. So you recollect that shared a chart with you. So one
Okay,
level
okay.
down, the CFO is a head of FP&A, or
Okay.
the designation might be called a director of FP&A or a vice president of FP&A. In different companies, it might be slightly different. But one level down CFO, meaning either you are a head of FP&A or you are head of treasury or you are head of accounting or controllership.
Okay, sir. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, for audit, the numbers Kshitij had mentioned, yeah, entry level, I think somewhere around 10 is what one should expect to get. Sometimes, depending on the profile, their if they're a rank holder or something, they can expect slightly higher, 20-30% higher. And yeah, this is about the once you enter the roles, annually, if you stay in the same firm, one may get single digits to maximum of 10-20% of 20% is, I think, the highest one would get within an organization, staying in the same role without getting a promotion, which is kind of rare. But yeah, single digits, then 10, 12, 15% are annual hikes. If one switches from one organization to another organization, the industry percentage which generally one should get hike is minimum, I believe, 30%, around 30. One may get upwards of 40, 50, 60, depending on the prospective roles and their past experience. Yeah, so I think everyone is mostly concerned with entry level pays only for the audience right now.
All right, thank you for all the answers. You must have noticed that we combined some of the questions because of the time constraint. So right now I'll just move on to the final question before starting the Q&A session. So if you could send one message to your 23-year-old self, or the kid who recently just qualified as a CA, what would be that one message? And simultaneously, what advice would you give to those students who are currently in their articleship or who have just become CAs?
Okay. So again, you combined a few questions, so I will go one by one. So somebody who is in their articleship or about to have finished their CA and supposed to appear in interviews or find new roles. So the first advice, if somebody is in articleship, to get a good job or like to work better, they should just focus on doing their job well, whatever they are doing at the moment, and then also studying well. Because once you go in the job market, you should know the theory behind everything you have written in your resume. So whatever you have done practically, you should know theoretically why you have done, like the concepts behind that. And there could be some things which you have not done practically, but you have read about them for your curriculum. So you should know their reasons and should have some concept in your mind, like how you would do it practically. So combining theory and practical is very important. I have seen many people who think that okay, theory is different and we do it differently practically, which is not correct. Because for whatever correctly we do, there is some theoretical reason, some math, some section, or some concept behind that. If one is clear about these two aspects, they can easily sail through all the interviews and can do well in their initial days of job. This was one thing. The other advice is, so somebody who's starting on their career, I think mm, the most important advice is they should focus on their well-being. Staying in good health is very important, because I know one has been already through a turmoil while they were working through their exam. So one should try to take care of themselves and do as much as they can do, but don't stress too much or burn out, because we have already seen incidents. Sometimes one cannot handle so much, staying in a new city, working a very busy job, and it is okay to set their own boundaries and their own limitations. And in the initial days, for the first 1 2 years, it is fine if you're not adjusting to a job, to quit and to find a new role, because one should take the initial few months or a year or two to figure out what exactly works for them and what is suitable to them. Yeah, that's it. And network, network, network. Because if you really want to stay in a career and work well, you need to network to with as many people, so you get to know about more opportunities and get more chances to get good work. That's from my end.
Thanks, Simran. I can share my, maybe if I were in your place, I would probably advise you. So now times have changed. So earlier in your probably in the times of your parents, or in times of our parents, we used to see people working for one organization for 20 years, 30 years, right? So those times have gone now. You have to keep adding value to yourself. Uh, right, every 2 years you should be keep upgrading yourself, in terms of not talking about the certifications, but keep learning whatever new things are going around, whether it be AI or anything new that comes up that is required for you to be relevant. Okay, so keep learning continuously. That is one advice, not the certifications, but you yourself spending time. It could be a short course, 2 hour course, or a 3 hour YouTube video, right? Whatever it is, you keep learning continuously. Um, Second is, uh, uh, I would say, is specific to FP&A at this point. If you want to get into FP&A, learn the in and about FP&A. I would recommend a few books. I'll send those list of books to Kusha and Arnav later on. So pick up two or three good books about FP&A if you want to get in FP&A. Learn the in and out about that profile or any other profile that you want to go in, if not FP&A, before you go for your interviews, because people will not expect you to have experience, but they will at least expect you to have done your research and done your due diligence in terms of what profile you want to spend your next 3 years, 5 years, right? Whatever it is. Okay, so make sure that you learn about the profile, whatever it is, FP&A, due diligence or audit, or any other profile. And finally, I would say is again on keep keep so right now some of you or most of you might be in your first role after CA. So take time to figure out what do you like, and eventually you should be able to figure out, maybe after doing 2 or 3 roles. Okay, I did audit for 2 years, I did FP&A for 2 years, I did due diligence for 2 years. Okay, now I've done 2 or 3 different roles. Now I should be able to figure out, okay, what is that I want or I like, and then eventually you should make your career in the area where you are happy. You should not be dragging yourself to office every Monday morning or every Monday. You should not feel, okay, weekend is over, now I have to go back to office. That should not happen. After, I would say, once you've worked in 2 or 3 roles and you've figured out what do you like. Okay, because if you like something, then you will be looking forward to going to office on a Monday morning.
Thank you, Asif ji. So, so guys, basically, if I the one message which I have to give to myself 10 years back would be to take more risk. This is something that is confining lot of things. Be more aggressive, be more vocal about what you want, even if you don't want anything right now or you don't know what you want. And but try to take more risk, try to experiment things, and because the kind of confidence you will get after qualifying CA is unmatched, and you will see that you have a lot of potential, and because that is a validation, we keep on asking validation from the society, so the result is a validation, and it's nothing else, that it gives you it gives you a validation. So try to explore your full potential, and because CA course is a is a too much for a person after, I guess, MBBS. CA, I think, is a very time demanding and everything. It will put a lot of pressure because of the same thing, that you have to do all 3 papers again or 4 papers again if you don't qualify one. And just to clear the audience, and I beg to differ with Asif ji on one thing, that you won't be able to get an opportunity to work in totally different profiles for 2 3 years, because once you pick up one profile after qualification, so you can switch in a year or maybe a 2 year times, but after 2 years you can't do tax, or after 2 years you can't do audit, because you cannot afford to start from the scratch again, and the interviewer will also question your clarity or visibility of the future. And maybe there would be few cases basis which Asif ji have mentioned that, but on a population, on a higher averaging basis, if I have to tell you that, you won't get that opportunity to switch too much frequently. But what you can do is you can analyze, or you can start reading about multiple things, so that after qualifying or before qualifying you can have a clear visibility that what you want to do. And but at the same time, the qualification which you have, and I don't want you to be burdened about taking a decision to choose something. Things flow automatically mostly, and right things flow actually. So nothing on that side. And so basically, since this is a very complex thing, you cannot answer in a one sentence or a 1 minute, and there are a lot of thoughts which are coming into my mind, but I cannot speak everything. So try to follow your mentor, whosoever is your mentor. Try to follow him. I can give you my personal suggestion that elder brother and sister are not dumb. They are very are very intelligent, or maybe experienced in their own profession, and they must have seen their life very differently, and your parents as well. And I did one mistake of not listening to my sister when she was guiding me. And because she was telling me to get into SRCC to do graduation, but I kept on saying that मेरे को CA करना है तो graduation करके करूँगा क्या मैं? But today we see that it puts a lot of different networking and everything, and personality change हो जाता है. So try to listen to your mentors, and so they will guide you better.
Yeah, I can add one thing on changing profiles, right? So you should definitely experiment. However, it also depends on your ability to take risk and ability to also your age, right? So I would say you should experiment till the age of 26, 27, which is typically 5 years period after you qualify. Usually people qualify 21, 22, right? So for a period of 3 to 4 or 5 years, you could experiment. And nowadays, you don't have that limitation that you have to stay in one role for more than 3 years, right? Nowadays the things are changing so fast. What was 5 years earlier is now like 1.5, 2 years, right? So you get that much of experience because of the change in technology and AI. So it also depends on your age. It also depends on your risk taking ability. If you don't have age on your side, if you don't have risk taking capacity, maybe your family is dependent on you for the paycheck. Okay, then probably you should think twice. However, I would still say you should experiment if those are not your constraints, at least till the age of 27. Okay, after 27, you should be able to figure out what you want to do for the next 30 years. Because after 27, also you have good 30 years of working life remaining, right? You will still work till 57 or 60. Okay, good 25 years are remaining. So it is okay to take 3 to 4 or 5 years to figure out what you like. Just make sure that while you are doing that, you also do your research and due diligence. Don't just go anywhere and everywhere.
We were actually also thinking about them that we need to
Mhm.
improve these things for the upcoming webinars.
Yeah,
So
good
we'll
luck.
work on that.
Surely, good luck, yeah.
All
Thank
right.
you. Thank you.
Now Lakshay, you can move forward with the conclusion.
Yes, sir. First of all, I would like to extend my heartfelt thanks to Kshitij sir and also Simran ma'am and Asif sir for taking out time from their demanding schedule and contributing meaningfully to this webinar. And a sincere note of gratitude to the JNK branch of NIRC of ICAI for encouraging student-led efforts like our Jammu CA Student Connect group. And a big thanks to the audience because their engagement, curiosity makes these sessions impactful and worthwhile. And with that, I would like to conclude this session. I wishing you a very wishing you